You can see where we're going with this, and it's obvious with the soil warrior out there, and from what Marin said and what Ken said, we really think that strip tillage has a fit in making this balance that Mark talked about between the environment and also production agriculture, because you know that I'm a production agronomist. I want big yield agriculture. That's where we have to be if we're going to feed whatever billion people there's going to be in 2050, whatever number you want to believe. So we are now about strip till, and before we see the soil warrior go later on, we thought we should have a bit of a discussion about that, because that's the unit that Southwest Ag will be using. So here with us from Environmental Tillage Systems, the manufacturers of the soil warrior. Soil Warrior is the leading, or pardon me, ETS is the leading manufacturer of conservation tillage and nutrient management equipment designed to enhance soil productivity and farm profitability. Both of those things sound really cool to me. With us today from ETS is both Derek Smith and also Kevin Bourne. And Kevin is the CEO of ETS, and Derek Smith is the Precision Ag Account Manager. Please welcome Derek to make a few comments around the soil warrior.
So I appreciate you taking the time to put up with what I think Southwest Ag used dumb Americans more than once. But we appreciate you taking the time to put up with us. I personally, just a little bit about my background. My background's in agronomy, master's in crop production physiology from Iowa State University. Ken, I want to thank Ken. I mean, Ken did a great job. Anytime you've been living and breathing, changing tillage systems, changing and adapting to new methodologies, it's not for the faint of heart. When I came on as CEO about 6 years ago, I too made the leap from conventional tillage to strip till, and it's not perfect every year, but I can tell you passionately, it is a lot better than what I was doing from a conventional standpoint. And while we hear a lot about the sustainability, and that is absolutely crucial, at the end of the day, we don't exist if we don't help farmers make more money. So at the end of the day, we need to be, making net profit per acre. So Derek and I are going to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about who Environmental Tillage Systems is, get a sense for why did Southwest Ag, partner up with us. I'm going to try to keep that short. To be honest, in many of these talks, I like to talk about the equipment as little as possible, because the equipment just needs to do what it's supposed to do. It's the partnership with Southwest Ag and the Precision Ag and all the other things and the services that go with it that make it successful. Otherwise, the equipment just needs to do what it's supposed to. We are a manufacturer of strip till equipment. We only manufacture strip till equipment. You won't find us, if you're not into strip till, we'll sell you a plow. That's not us. We're very passionate and believe that absolutely this is the way of the future for the blend between, as we talked about, the best of both worlds. Growing high-yielding crops, yet still protecting, our soil, protecting our lakes. For us in Minnesota, we're dealing with nitrate issues. We put 100% of our nitrogen down in the fall. We have, in my own county, we had the 6th wettest spring on record 3 years ago, the wettest spring on record last year. When you move 6-7 inches of water through our profile, do you know where that nitrate ends up? Moves about 4 inches for every inch of water that you move through the profile. So needless to say, many of our farms had corn that was as yellow as could be well into July because it hadn't grown into, how far down that nitrate had moved. And we're dealing with the issue of the nitrates moving into the groundwater. All right, moving on. We've been in existence for about, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year as far as a commercial organization. The company was founded by a farmer that wanted to find a different way, a better way to farm than the way they had been farming. We have a lot of rocks in our area. When you put a shank in the ground and you hit rocks at 7, 8, 9 miles an hour, 8 and 9 mile an hour, not good things happen. So he set out to build a piece of equipment that could hit those rocks, go over those rocks, and just keep going. Because when you're farming 2,000 acres and it's just you and your wife, there's not a lot of kids and people to run around and pick up rock. That was one of the key things that he had worked on. The other, Ken did a great job of kind of setting the stage for, I think there's a lot of great pieces of equipment out there. And, you know, you got to figure out what does the right thing for your farm. We're in the U.S., we're in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, so we have an international presence, but, you know, very much this Ontario, U.S. market is where we're focused on. We believe that we honor that best of both worlds, you know, between the conventional tillage in the row, giving that good seed to soil contact. Again, everything that Ken said is right on. If you move 100% of that residue into, if you're in 20-inch rows, you know, it gets to be very difficult to take all of that residue, push it in between, and be able to side dress or be able to do split applications of N. So we at the heart, if you talk to, whether it be Derek, whether it be any of our service personnel throughout the U.S., you will find people that are just very passionate about, you know, serving you, the producer, and making sure that your experience is as great as it can be. That's one of the reasons that Southwest Ag and we partnered together, is that they have that same philosophy. I've heard more than once that Southwest Ag goes above and beyond to make sure that their customers have the experience that they want and deserve. So that very well married up with Environmental Tillage Systems philosophy. Go ahead and keep going. The 4 R's. Certainly we're a 4R partner company. What we believe is that when you look at strip till, everything that Veritas and Southwest Ag talk about as far as precision agriculture, as far as efficiency, use of fertilizer efficient. Does that mean you're going to use less fertilizer? It may or may not. But you're looking to use fertilizer efficiently and place it where the crop needs it and not put more on than what you need where it doesn't. So basically the strip till and the soil warrior, along with the 4Rs, it lives and breathes what it is about right product, right acre, right time, and so on. So we're very proud to be here. We thank you for the opportunity to showcase again, but the equipment should really be in the background. You know, yes, it's a tool, but it's just one tool of many. You can't just simply move to strip till and expect, you know, everything's perfect. So make sure you've got a partner, as Ken said. You know, find some good people to be working with from the precision side. But it's a great journey. I'm proud to have been on it now for 6 years. It's a legacy that I'm going to be able to leave to my 3 boys, about being very proud that I'm leaving my soil in better condition than when I found it. And that's a legacy that I absolutely want to have, not only as a farmer, but as a citizen. So, Derek?
I got the mic there. So we're going to talk just a little bit about kind of what Kent mentioned about what is strip tillage and what the machine is actually doing, and the greater focus on optimization of that seed bed means putting that fertility where you want. We're going to blend that in the entire zone. Some of the past history with strip tillage with the shank is banding that fertilizer. We're going to avoid that by focusing and blending that fertilizer from the surface all the way down to the 5 inches that we're going in. So Ken talked mostly about this, the benefits of it, the capabilities, potentially boosting yields or comparable yields, the fertilizer efficiency of that, the organic content, the soil health. We're going to save the soil moisture. Fertilizer fuel is a big saver, labor, and time. So the soil warrior does target the seed zone preparation while blending that fertilizer. That's the big thing. With Veritas, the program that they have in combination with the soil warrior, you will get that possible solution that we've talked about, the problems with agriculture these days. One of the many solutions is this soil warrior program. Some of the benefits of this machine, you can see it sitting out there. Just a slideshow of it. The particular machine that Southwest Ag has is a 3-bin setup. We're going to be variable rating all 3 products at the same time. Going through, we do have a steerable cart. So rolling hills, those aspects are going to be staying on those lines. And with those lines that we're making, we'll be able to, with Veritas, convert those over to a different terminal. I've seen a couple of Case IH hats. So if you come in with a Pro 700, even though this is a John Deere, we're going to be able to convert those lines over to you so you can follow right on that strip. We do have RTK equipped both on the tractor and the soil warrior. You can see it out there, and the reason being is for that active implement guidance. It's a little bit about the row unit. You'll see it out there. We'll do a walk around. You'll see the field demo of it. We're going about that 3 to 6 inch deep seedbed prep. Dry fertilizer placement is right in between those coulters. That's how we're going to get that blending action throughout that entire zone. We do have zone cleaners on the front. We have dual containment cogs in the back. They're going to build that berm back up. We want a little berm going into, because when you get to the spring, that's going to settle out. It's going to be a really nice seed bed. On the back end, we have a rolling basket that's more for the springtime application, but it is on there to be able to see that in action. Adjustable air downforce control, we have 3 different air sections on the soil wear. On the zone cleaners, we have 1, and we have 2 on the rows themselves. So we'll be able to match the air pressure needs to your particular farm. If it's conventional tillage for the last several years, we can lighten that up, get through there. If it's a no-till ground, we can really push the force down and get through it. So just some pictures, and pictures have not been showing up great today at all. So hopefully you can see a little bit of it, what you can possibly expect in your field. We'll see it out here more clear. You can see how we're pushing that residue in between, leaving a nice good zone right in the middle. And just more pictures going through there.
So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about that I think are important for you as producers. So number one, this is a 16-row machine. So one question you might have is, well, I run a 12-row planter. How is this going to match up to, my 12-row planter when you're 16 rows with the strips? So that's why we're running RTK on both the cart and the tractor. So, if you go out there, and right now we don't have pass to pass, the first pass guidance wasn't engaged till further down, but you should find to be within about 1 centimeter of the guess row from pass to pass. So if you're covering and you're over top of that guess row, you shouldn't be worried about, because that cart is also steering, so is the tractor. You should be able to hit that with no problem as far as a 12-row following up a 16-row soil work. The other thing is because we're mixing the fertilizer throughout that 10-inch wide zone, if you're on SF2 or you're not using any guidance, you're going to be able to wander just a little bit and you're still hitting where that fertilizer is. So it's not like you're getting off into a dead zone, or that you have to worry about, great, now I don't have any effective starter effect with, as Ken talked about, having some fertilizer right there for it, because it is mixed throughout that zone. And that's important as we talk about it here today. That's it. So questions?
Sorry. Does your machine have the same efficiency at 2.5 inches as 5 inches? Like you said, 5 inches or 6 inches. I don't want to go that deep. I want to go, say, 2.5.
Yep. The question is, do we have the same efficiency at the 2-inch depth to the 5-inch depth? Yes. On this particular machine, we do have depth adjustments that we can go all the way up to about 1.5 inches down to 5 inches with just a simple adjustment of the depth wheel. And because we're blending that fertilizer in from the top 0 inch all the way down, we can have that efficiency.
It will do the same mixing of the depth.
Yeah, because the key with, and right, so you have different coulters that you could use, but you're going to find when you watch today, grant you were at that 5-6 inch depth today, there is a lot of soil being moved. And what we're focused on is that when that soil is up in the air, hitting against the blades behind, that's when we're getting that mixing action. And so even when you're at 2-inch depth, because that's what you want to do, you're still going to see a lot of soil movement at that depth. The other key is that you're going to see speed is our friend. And we're going to want to see these guys doing 7, 7.5, 8 miles an hour. And you may think that, 510 horse on the front end of that, that's way over horsepowered. Not when you're doing 8 miles an hour. That is doing a lot of soil manipulation. And again, a lot of us are used to conventional tillage, maybe a chisel plow, where at 5.5 miles an hour, you could put a 360 horse tractor on this. But because we want to do speed, and again, you're going to see it not so much when they make the pass down, but you watch them when they're coming back. What's happening with those zone cleaners in front, you're going to see how speed plays a huge role in a coulter-based system and how much more action that gets moving. I mean, that is truly the key to the success is speed.
And don't forget as well that regardless of what happens, the majority of your fertilizer will be in the top 50% of the soil that you work. That's just what happens. The faster you go, it changes a little bit, but who cares? If you go 2 inches deep and it's in the top inch, it's not on the soil surface where it's going to get washed away, and you're berming it up a little bit, and the majority of your roots are in that top surface zone anyway whenever there's moisture. So whether you have it in the top inch or the top 3 inches, that fertilizer is still in the zone that it needs to be. So don't get too hung up about how deep it places it or how it mixes it in. I think the key is that it's not on the soil surface. I mean, Phil talked about the Maumee Basin. One of the big problems there is they surface broadcast phosphorus in the fall or in January on frozen soil. Where is that going to go? It's going to go into the river. As soon as we mix it in that surface zone, we build it up. As long as it's not on the surface, that's really what we're after. More questions? Sam?
Is there a problem with residue covering that zone? Like you say, you hit a fall zone, you see some corn stalks, that the residue kind of filters back in on the top of your zone?
Yep, great question. So yes, certainly, because we also,
So
along
repeat the
with,
question, please, Kevin.
so the question was, is there any issue with, overwinter, or that residue will blow back over the top of your zone, which of course then come spring will make it warm up slower, retain more moisture? So the answer is yes. When we work with growers that are using chopping heads and they want to do corn after corn, it's more of an issue than what Ken said. He said, I'd like to leave my corn stalks standing tall because they'll act very much as a fence to keep a lot of that from happening. Now, if that happens, when we've got growers, they usually will still run a zone cleaner or a row cleaner on the front of their planter just to wipe that residue off. Or in some areas, that's kind of why the yetter is sitting here. Some will make that second pass in the spring to blacken it up, move some of that residue off, and get some oxygen into that zone so that we can be out there planting a little bit earlier. So yes, you will find some residue will blow on it, but it's surface only, and you have a couple options as to what you can do with it. Either wipe it off when you're going to plant, or if you want to be able to increase how soon you can plant, you'd run something like a yetter zone freshener or something ahead of that. And to be honest, over conventional till, you'll be out there 3 to 5 days sooner in a strip till situation than you would a conventional.
Because our biggest problem to get heavy soils to dry is the residue.
Yeah.
That's on top. That's such an insulator.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of the system, right, Sam, is that we're trying to, so Sam's comment is that the problem on heavy soil is the residue. And you all know what the soybeans looked like this year. They were slow to green up, and this year was way better than last year. Last year there was soybeans, well, there was a Twitter picture there yesterday where they had conventional tillage beside reduced tillage, and the reduced tillage still the soybeans were yellow versus the conventional tillage they were green. And it's a soil temperature thing that's really driving that. And I think that's the beauty of this system is we're trying to get the benefits of the black soil and still have that residue there to stop the soil erosion. So lots of guys, Sam, that have been in this process, and Ken tends not to do a lot of spring strips, but there's lots of other strip tillers who plan on a pass in the fall and touching the strips again in the spring, either with a strip tiller. Some guys will even go out there and just run an RTS, a Salford RTS over the top. Whatever it is, just to touch it, break the surface, let it dry out, and still keep the benefits. So it's some real positive things there. One last question. We're going to move on. Yep, at the back.
Compaction is never a factor in this thing.
Sorry?
Compaction is never a factor in this. You know that it gets in the field 3 to 5 days earlier.
So the question is, compaction is never an issue. Do you want to handle that, or do you want me to?
Well, so I'll take it first, because again, having lived and breathed this, obviously the benefit for me is where I'm going to plant. When I stripped in the fall, I'm driving on last year's residue. So I've got all the roots, whether it be soybeans or whether it be corn, I'm driving on solid ground that's basically no-till. And so yeah, compaction is not an issue for me from that standpoint that, Ken said it. Once I've stripped, I don't want to run over or touch those, strips whatsoever, And so I protect those at all costs. And so because I'm driving on the 20 inches in between my rows, I don't have any issues with even, again, coming off the 6th wettest, the wettest spring on record, I'm still out there way ahead of and not compacting where, you get those pinch rows. Take some of the guys in the States with the 24, 36 row planters, and then they've got starter fertilizer on them. They're seeing about a 5 to 7 bushel decrease in those pinch rows. We've seen no issues as far as where we drive to plant with the strips from a compaction standpoint. And I put a lot of that on the fact that, we didn't touch it. It's no-till.
Yeah, so you think about it. When the custom combine operator, when it gets too wet in the fall, that he can't run on conventionally tilled ground, what does he do? He moves to the no-till ground because the no-till ground will carry, because you haven't worked it up and it still has that carrying capability. The other thing that this really lends itself to, if you get down this pathway very far, is controlled traffic. And so some of the things that Kevin mentioned, this compaction issue, you run the cultivator over the field 3 times and you've driven over 80% of the field. You want to talk about compaction, we can see a lot of those lines still in the growth right now. This, at least you're on untouched soil, so its carrying capacity is better. I would never say there's no compaction, because that's why Ken's running tracks. Lots of guys are going to run low pressure tires if they can, but you're on ground that will carry better, and you're trying to get the crop in the ground fast so you get those bigger yields. Compaction's still going to be an issue, absolutely. All right, with that we're gonna stop there, and I'm gonna just wrap up here quickly. Okay, thank you very much, guys.